Hollywood is an interesting place. A whole lot of what could have been goes around there. Let's talk about how The Matrix could have been totally different, starting with what made the brains behind The Matrix consider Will Smith for the part of Neo.
That's kind of the way it works, and I was below average, so you'll probably ultimately rank.
Will Smith had quite the presence in the sci-fi world at the time.
In the audience right now, you're sitting next to strangers.
Although it's hard for younger folks to even imagine this, but The Matrix could have been a totally different experience if the Wachowskis had managed to convince Will Smith to star in the film. Unfortunately, we never got to see that.
Don't ever let somebody tell you you can't do something.
Smith was already a huge thing in Hollywood with his TV show The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and the movie Bad Boys that came out in 1995.
What you want, nigga?
I'm here to take his daughter out.
What's your name?
Reggie.
Well, no, I heard a motherfucker say your name, Reggie.
But even more importantly is he was a familiar face when it came to the sci-fi experience.
I look good. Hey, make my cheeks a little more blue.
He'd already starred in Independence Day and Men in Black, both really popular sci-fi films at the time.
Realized that it was a fantasy.
So obviously the crowd would have totally eaten up another serving of Will Smith in another sci-fi scenario, and this is precisely why the Wachowskis wanted him to star as Neo in The Matrix.
Good luck, Chris.
Thank you. Thank you.
But it didn't quite happen because Will Smith didn't really buy into the world that they wanted to build. Smith had a hard time wrapping his head around the world of The Matrix.
3 laws, so that means we have 1,000 robots that will not try to protect themselves if it violates a direct order from a human.
Y'all might remember the scene from The Matrix that was super awesome. Yep, the one which time seemed to slow down and you watched bullets whiz by at all angles.
It's all fuzzy. I've reached out to Chris.
That was a new technique that the Wachowskis had imagined for the movie. Pretty hard to explain it to someone without opening up your phone and just showing it to them. Well, maybe this is the problem that the Wachowskis ran into as well, because Will Smith explained that he thought that it just looked silly if they weren't able to pull that scene off by using the cameras specifically designed to capture freeze frames.
And the message that came back is that he's not ready to talk.
The established movie star wasn't comfortable going into a project that would rely so heavily on an untested film technique.
Apologize to you. My behavior was unacceptable.
Hey, Jada totally had the imagination to see the vision behind it because she did star in it. But just imagine, what if Will Smith had said yes to being Neo? Well, let's look at the scenario the star himself painted in that case.
I want to apologize to Chris's mother. I saw an interview that Chris's mother did.
Now, Smith is a funny guy. He can totally take over any situation with his witty charm, so if Neo had been played by him, maybe he would have been someone who made jokes. That would be weird, to say the least. Honestly, The Matrix is sci-fi, but Neo being funny is next-level sci-fi. Smith himself admitted as much. According to him, he totally would have tried to add a little humor here and there in the film had he been Neo. Smith is pretty hands-on in his projects, and this brings us to another way The Matrix could have been different with him in it. The Matrix could potentially have been a star vehicle.
Boy, Captain America over here. The best of the best of the best, sir.
Before the franchises became these huge independent projects projected by intellectual property rights, Hollywood placed a whole lot of weight on the stars who led the movies.
Liu Wan-se, legendary gambler. He bets on everything, anything.
Think of how Tom Cruise and Dwayne Johnson picked projects and used them to make and maintain their star image.
Oblivious. I always loved that line.
This is called using the movie as a star vehicle. Well, Smith is sort of like that too. That was also one of the reasons why he was replaced by Jamie Foxx in Django Unchained.
Oh, maybe I can make this easy for you. I know binary is over budget.
The Matrix needed someone like Keanu to really build that world, and his acting made it as impressive and historic as it is today.
Really?
I know you said the story was over for you, but...
So in the end, even though Smith said no to it, The Matrix is everything it was expected to be, but it could have been super different because many others were considered for the role as well.
Or I'm living inside a computer-generated reality that has imprisoned me.
This first actor is someone you never would have expected, Sandra Bullock. The Matrix was already a pretty risky feature. They needed to do it well, so they needed someone with star power to put the movie on the map. Sandra Bullock has that by the boatloads. And as the Wachowskis searched for their Neo, their list also had this megastar because of Demolition Man and Speed. Now, I know Neo as a woman is a bit of a head-scratcher, but think about it. Is it really, though? According to producer Lorenzo de Bonaventura, they were ready to have the gender swap if it meant that Sandra would be a part of it. Ultimately, though, Bullock took a pass on it because she felt the movie didn't align with her career at the time. However, the Matrix team continued to dream big, as is obvious by the next name on this list, Brad Pitt. Don Davis, composer for The Matrix, shared that Warner Brothers really wanted good old Brad to be in the movie.
Can I ask something about your game?
Sure.
Did you base your main character on yourself?
They say if that the Wachowskis could get him, they'd give the film the green light. The 90s were super kind to Pitt and the dude's got talent, but he declined to be in The Matrix and sadly didn't share the reason. In his own words, it was never his part and he took the red pill on it. This next name was really on a trajectory upwards in the 90s though, Leonardo DiCaprio. Now this might seem like an odd choice because he was so much younger at the time, but producer de Bonaventura told The Wrap that Leo was the next one on the list after Pitt had declined. So they went to DiCaprio and had meetings with him, but ultimately Leo shared that he couldn't take on another movie based around visual effects as he'd just gotten done with Titanic.
Mind if I get that?
Oh, hi.
Hi.
So at this point, we can kind of feel how frustrated the producers of The Matrix must have been when another major name passed up on the opportunity. But they kept at it, and here's another actor they had their eyes set on, Johnny Depp. According to Don Davis, this was a name Warner Brothers didn't agree with. It's kind of hard to imagine now, but back then, before putting on Jack Sparrow's hat, he wasn't considered an action star. Sadly, this didn't pan out, so they looked for someone who'd already established himself in action movies, Val Kilmer. Yep, the star was up for Neo's part as well, and I mean, he could totally take up the energy that Neo had, but he turned down the role just like Brad Pitt. But it wasn't over yet. Of course, the producers also went on to another actor who was doing very well for himself in Hollywood in the 90s, Nicolas Cage. So Cage has come pretty close to a lot of roles from Iron Man to Shrek, but he also could have been Neo. He was an action hero already at that time with movies like Face Off and The Rock. Cage shared that he was interested in the role but couldn't do it since he had family obligations back then and the shoot in Australia was supposed to take a long duration of time. Moving on, I bet you can't guess the next name on this list, Madonna. Yep, you heard that right. Talking to The Tonight Show about all the roles she regretted not taking, Madonna also mentioned that she turned down a part in The Matrix. Now, many were quick to analyze that she most likely meant the role of Trinity, as she looks similar to Carrie-Anne Moss, but we already know that gender swap wasn't off the card, so who knows, maybe she could have been Neo. So these were some of the people who could have been cast in The Matrix, and we'll see you soon in the next video.